Painting black fur has to be one of the most challenging fur colors to replicate from nature. And as a full-time wildlife artist, I have had my fair share of struggles and experience painting black fur over the years, and my process has kind of changed lately. So I wanted to compile a list of tips and tricks as well as demonstrate my process for you today in hopes that this will help you in your journey to painting the most realistic black fur possible. Now let's go ahead and jump right in. So the first thing I want to discuss with you today is something that I feel is incredibly overlooked in the painting process, but is a step in the process that can really set your painting up for success. And that step is going to be to dissect your reference. So before we even touch our paint to our canvas or even bring our sketch onto our surface, we are going to sit in front of our reference and we are going to digest all of the information we are seeing, from our texture to our lighting to our fur color, which we were talking about today as an example. I'm going to look and I'm going to digest all of this information and really get a good grasp of what I'm looking at so that moving forward, I know exactly how I want to paint this painting. All right, voiceover Cassie here. Hello, hi. Now let's use my black jaguar painting as an example and let's dissect this reference together. Since we are focused on painting black fur today, I really want to dive in and show you the colors that are seen in black fur patterns. Oftentimes, we will think of animals that have black fur and assume they are made up entirely of black, gray, and white value. But in reality, black fur has a host of other colors that are present within it, depending on your lighting, the environment the animal is in, and the creature itself. Here you can see an example of just some of the many colors that I have picked up within this reference. Now towards the top of the head, the black jaguar has a more brown-black coloring, and towards the cheek of this big cat is a much more blue-gray. In some areas, they are incredibly dark, like down towards the bottom of the reference. This will appear black, and in some areas, the fur has a really nice bright white shine. It's important to really digest your reference and find out what colors are present in the fur in order to make a much more realistic painting. Now, by adding these colors in, your painting will look much more dynamic, realistic, and not look like a black and white photograph, but an in-color, lively painting. Now, something also to consider at this stage is the direction of the fur and its growth pattern. I have mapped out just some of the many directions the fur is traveling on this black jaguar's face, and you'll notice that in addition to the direction of the fur, also the lighting and the color changes mentioned before of this jaguar also tend to reflect the movement and growth of the fur, so a lot of times they correlate with one another. By considering all of these elements in your dissect your reference step, you'll be setting yourself up with a wealth of knowledge of your black furred subject and be much more confident with your painting process moving forward. All right, so once you have a good grasp of your reference and you've crossed off your list, you've checked out the fur texture, the fur color, the light source, we can go ahead now and start working on our preliminary base layers for this fur color. The first step in our preliminary layers is to tone our canvas. Now I'm going to use burnt umber today for this initial wash with a large square brush and a lot of water. This consistency is going to be similar to that of a watercolor wash, and I'm going to apply this all over the surface of my canvas. Now, the purpose behind toning your surface is to eliminate the harsh white from your canvas, making it easier on your eyes and also making color mixing easier to see. So you're going to be able to see those colors you're applying to your canvas much easier and more authentically than if you had a really stark, light white canvas behind those colors. I have found this super helpful in my art journey, and I hope that you do too and apply this to your painting. I'd love to hear your thoughts and whether or not this works for you. Now, once that has completely dried, I'm going to go ahead and start working in an underpainting with a darker burnt umber color mixture. So to that initial wash, I've added in a little bit of Mars Black and a little less water on my brush so that it is a little bit more opaque. And you can see as I apply this, it's still in a watercolor type consistency, but it is darker than that initial base. This is going to be a map of all the darkest areas on your black furred subject, so I encourage you to use this step to find all of those shadows in your reference and block those in accordingly. Now we can move on to the fun part, adding in more layers and beginning to dive into our black fur. Now the first thing I begin with is what I call my base layers. These base layers act as a roadmap or a guide for the rest of my painting and the details I'm going to add in later on. Now, I think it's important to note that at this stage, I am not worrying about my painting being perfect or my fur having any sort of detail in it at all. So my perfectionists who are watching this video who tend to add in detail a little too soon, make sure you are just focusing on laying down the correct colors, light and shadow in the proper places, and not getting caught up in adding in the fur texture quite yet until the end of the video. I typically will start around the eyes and work my way outwards, but you can begin this process wherever fits you and your art style and your workflow. Typically on my palette, especially with black fur, I will have 3 to 4 colors pre-mixed before I begin so that I can dive back and forth between them as I start to map out this fur. Typically, I usually have a medium blue-gray mixed. I have a darker charcoal, sometimes added in with a little burnt umber. I have a lighter, softer blue-gray, and I also will have a warmer gray-brown all ready to go on my palette, ready to be applied. Now, these are some of the colors that I had actually picked up on in my previous chapter of this video where we were dissecting our references. So as I dissected my reference, I kind of picked out 3 or 4 major colors and pre-mixed them on my palette before I started painting. And this is going to allow me to easily swap back and forth between these colors as I go and not have to worry about stopping my painting process and mixing them during the sort of most crucial foundational part of this painting. If you're worried about your paints drying out, as we know acrylic dries really quickly, you can use a stay wet palette, or if you have a cheap mister bottle around, you can use that to keep them lightly moist. Ew, I hate the word moist. I'm sorry, I know so many people do, but I could not think of another way to explain it other than keeping your paint moist and workable. But anyways, moving on, you can see here that I'm working this fur in a sort of puzzle piece type way. I'm adding in the darker gray and charcoal colors to the areas of shadow, and I'm relying on the softer, lighter blues to act as the foundation for the lighter areas of fur. They are not perfectly blended, and you can see that a lot of them have, jagged edges, or they're just large, big blocks of color, and we're going to soften and blend them later on in the detailing stage. So don't worry if your black jaguar or whatever subject you are painting looks like just big blocks of color. We're going to sort of blend those together and kind of make them into one cohesive unit. Now you'll notice at this stage, adding in color to your black fur is incredibly important and really builds the foundation for the rest of your painting. Now it may feel at first a little strange to add in blue, brown, green, or even red to your black fur. It may feel just kind of strange and muddy and not what you should be doing, but I can promise you that it'll make for an exceptional, more realistic painting and really just give it that extra bit of realism. Once all of your base layers have dried and you are happy with how it looks, we are now going to go into the next part of our painting process, and that is going to be to define your layers further and start to add in your fur detail. So to recap what we've accomplished so far, we've first dissected our reference into key components like light, shadow, and the colors present. We blocked in our base layers using 3 to 4 main colors like blue-gray, charcoal, and brown to indicate their placement in the painting. And now we can start to add in layers on top to begin to smooth out those large blocks of color and add in our fur texture. Now, normally what I will do for the fur texture is I will start to work from dark to light and back to front. So I will look for the furthest away layers of shadow, and I'll begin to block those in first with my round brush. Now, the furthest away layers are going to be the darkest, so you will want to use an even darker charcoal or black color for this part. So just keep in mind that we have our original base layer we've blocked in. These shadow colors we want to be a shade or two darker so that they're visible over top of this base layer. So keep that in mind. If you do mix a color that's just a little bit too close, some of these shadows can get lost in the background, and then you'll just have a very sort of light mid-tone painting with not a lot of shadows present. So just keep that in mind. It took me a long time to figure out my color mixing, and even to this day, sometimes it gives me a hard time. So I did just want to mention that as well. Just keep track of those shadows. Now, in terms of brushes, I do find that round brushes seem to be some of the best for adding in fur texture, as they are a very versatile shape that allows you a lot of movement and sort of definition to your brush strokes. And in some areas, they're also versatile enough to keep it soft and loose, so it's really a great brush to use. As a little hint and something I've found helpful is I find using an older brush that may be a little bit ratty or well-loved, as I like to say, to be helpful with these first few layers of shadow, as we don't want our painting to get too defined too quickly. So the dark gray or black that we use for our shadow can be quite heavy as a color, and so using a brush with softer edges helps make the painting less blunt and dramatic, or everything looks pin sharp. You're going to have some areas that the fur is really quite soft and fluffy, or maybe even out of focus, just as our reference may show. So just keep that in mind as well. Once you have your shadows painted and you're happy with the fur detail you are starting to add, you can go ahead now and start adding in your midtone and your highlights. Now, your midtone is going to be the middle of the road, not too dark and not too light, and it's going to act as the layer just before your highlights. It provides even more detail of the fur and the shape of your subject. Now, the highlight layer will be the brightest part of the fur texture and your painting, and be the closest layer to us, the viewer, so the very top layer. When in doubt, just remember that you're going to have minimum at least 3 layers of fur texture on your painting. You're going to have your shadow layer, you're going to have your midtone layer, and then your highlights being the last layer that you add before completion. And this is going to be where you start to see your painting come to life and really begin to look like your subject. Now, normally for black fur, I find that most of my paintings, the mid-tone color is going to be a medium blue-gray, and the highlights are going to be a light blue-gray or brown, depending on the creature and the lighting. For this particular painting, the sides of the jaguar, if you recall from our previous chapter, are a light blue, as mentioned before, by the cheek area, and the top of the head is a warm gray mixed with brown. I will work my way around the painting, adding in these lighter colors with tiny little paint strokes. Now, the shape of the round brush naturally helps with this, as the sort of base of the brush is quite thick, leading to a very fine, thin tip towards the end of those brush bristles. Now, I achieve the look of fur by pressing down on my brush in the beginning of my paint stroke, and I slowly lift my hand off of the canvas, removing some of that pressure from my brush so that the bristles kind of retract and return back to their original position to a very fine tip at the end of my brush stroke. Hopefully that makes sense. Basically, start with a lot of pressure in the beginning to fan those brush bristles outwards, and as you relieve some of that pressure, lift that hand off the canvas, the brush naturally returns to its original shape, which is going to be a very fine point. Now, this in itself takes a lot of time to learn and develop, so be sure to practice often and even try your hand at fur textures on a sample sheet if you're not quite ready to commit to your final painting. Believe me, it's taken quite a long time to get this right, and even still, I still struggle some days. Something new I have added to my black fur painting process is a technique called glazing. Until now, I had only relied on my paint mixing to create the colors within the black fur, and didn't realize the potential of glazing and how it can help you make realistic black fur. Now, for those who may not be familiar with glazing, glazing is when you water down acrylic paint to a light wash, and you brush the wash over top of an existing layer of paint and change its appearance. You can use glazing for shadows, so by watering down black or brown paint, you can glaze in darker areas to your painting, or you can use glazing to add in pops of vivid color like yellow or red. I'll show you an example with today's painting of my black jaguar, and I use glazing to add in burnt sienna to the fur around the nose. Rather than trying to mix that perfect color of gray and sienna, I decided to use glazing to add in that reddish color over top to save myself the hassle and, let's be real, the aggravation of trying to color mix. I do this throughout the fur in different areas that I think may need a bit more red or brown, or even in some areas a pop of blue. It definitely helps add in that vibrancy and life we've been talking about to our painting, and it keeps your painting from becoming too grayscale or looking washed out. Now you'll see here with a bit of movie editing magic, as I near the completion of my painting, I use glazing as a final step to sort of soften some of the harsh edges of my work and add in any final shadows that I think are necessary. Now I usually default to my blender brush with Mars Black paint and a lot of water to create my shadow glaze. But typically, before I do this final sort of once over, I will take a step back from my work for a few days. I'll let it marinate on my easel, and then I'll return a couple days later with a fresh view. And this will allow me to see what areas are actually in need of a shadow, maybe a bit more of a highlight in some areas, or maybe I need to alter something altogether. At least I come back with a fresh pair of eyes, and I'm not overworking areas that are actually fine. Glazing comes in handy for this and has become my go-to in ensuring that my fur is soft, realistic, and accurate to my reference. It has been an indispensable tool to my art kit, and I really hope you find it helpful as well. All right, something that I wanted to say at the end of this video, which I personally think is probably the most important message of the day, is to remember to be patient with yourself. Art is a journey. It is not an overnight success. It is not overnight results. It is going to take time, effort, and practice to see the fruits of your labor. We creatives, the artist type, we are chronically hard on ourselves. I would dare to say that we're mean. We're mean to ourselves, and we don't give ourselves a lot of patience and a lot of praise. So what I want you to do now is I want you to realize and I want you to think about how hard you've been working lately and the progress that you're making, no matter how small it may feel. As long as you are creating, you are learning, you are growing, you are becoming a better artist. So stop being hard on yourself, have fun with the black fur that you're painting, and just be proud that you're making something with your hands and your mind, and you're creating something beautiful. All right, everyone, that is it for today's video. I so hope you enjoyed and most importantly, found it helpful for your own art journey. Now, before we go, I did just want to say a big thank you to our Patreon members. Thank you so much for your continued support, and I am so grateful and thankful to have you in our community. If you yourself would like to join my Patreon, you can check out the link in the description box below. And of course, last but not least, a big shout out to our channel sponsors, Chartpak, Grumbacker, and Molotov for sponsoring my content here on YouTube and on Twitch. That's a mouthful. Thank you so much for your support as always and for believing in my work. I am so honored to work alongside you. Their links can be found in the description box below, as well as places where to purchase their products for your own art toolkits. Whew, that is it for me today. If you'd like to see more content, be sure to check out this video. Bye, guys.